68 million letters are posted each day in the UK. What you don't know about your local postman is that he is also the local drug dealer. A small fraction of these letters contain illegal drugs, purchased online via the deep web.
Guardian's recent drug survey, 2014 drug survey, found that something like 20% of drugs users said they buy their drugs off the internet. And I'd imagine most of those are going to these darknet markets.
Well, the vast majority operate on the Tor hidden service model. A hidden service is a website, just like any other, but instead of .com or .co.uk, it has .onion because it relies on the Tor network. This means that when users are using Tor to hide their own identity, the physical location of the servers, wherever they may be, Iceland, Guatemala, the US, they are protected as well.
Buying drugs or any other item off the Silk Road is much like buying something off eBay or Amazon, so it'd be very familiar to anyone who's been on those sites, which frankly is most of us. So you create an account, you sign in, you start browsing through the different offers that are available to you, and for every product that's there, that's listed, you'll have details about the product, you'll have a little picture showing you what the product looks like, you'll have information about the vendor, you'll have information about how good the reviews have been of the vendor and of the product the vendor's selling.
Bitcoin is an innovative payment network and a new kind of currency. It uses peer-to-peer technology to operate with no central authority or banks. This enables users to make anonymous transactions.
Once you've made your decision, you will place an order and then you pay with your Bitcoin cryptocurrency. And then you do what you do when you're on eBay, which is to wait around a couple of days until your product turns up in the post, which is what it does.
The Silk Road was launched in February 2011, revolutionizing the way of buying illegal drugs. No one could have expected the success this phenomena would become.
Started off relatively small. A handful of sort of niche boutique drugs users would go on there to buy very sort of interesting types of mushrooms or acid, the stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily find on the streets anyway.
The owners of Silk Road, at least what we can tell from the posts on the forum, they were in it for libertarian reasons, these free market ideals, these Austrian economics, whatever that may be. There was a political motivation. When we have other sites, maybe Evolution or Agora, to name a couple, they just seem to be more professional, more finance driven. They're in it for the profit.
From a technical point of view, if you're very, very, very careful, and what we've seen from Silk Road and Silk Road 2 and some of the other dark markets, the vast majority of them are not very careful, or not careful enough. But if you're technically, I suppose, in principle, if you're incredibly careful, you could keep a dark market up and running without being shut down.
Gorka wrote a big article on it, Adrian Chen, a big expose saying, there is this underground drugs market on the dark net where you can buy and sell anything. And the immediate response to that was the sort of quadrupling of visitors to the site overnight because everyone was fascinated and people thought it was a brilliant idea.
Allegedly, according to the FBI indictments, Silk Road 1 was bringing well over $100 million. And then of that, there was something like a 10% commission that the administrator would take.
The Dread Pirate Roberts, the admin of the whole site, who was Ross Ulbricht, had to start employing more people, had to start employing site administrators to manage stuff, moderators to moderate the forums where people were talking about it, and it just sort of mushroomed, pardon the pun.
I purchased quite a lot from the Silk Road, mainly hallucinogenics because I don't know where to get them on the streets, and a lot of coke because it's the best. The stuff you buy online is always so much better than on the street, and the weights are always bang on.
It's cyberpunk as anything, right? So I think an awful lot of people, if they're going online and they're saying, let me rate this experience, they are literally high anyway. I mean, never mind having taken the drugs, but they're already a little bit overexcited about the fact that they've just done this really cool thing. Oh my God, it's Bitcoin and it's a thing, and we bought thing and all right, I got the Jiffy bag came through the door and it's got a shitload of coke in it. They're already a bit excitable.
So a lot of people wrongly assume that the real magic of this Silk Road is that is the encryption, it's the Tor network, and the fact you pay with bitcoins, which means that your transactions are pretty much anonymous as well. But that's not the real key. The key is because you have a choice of hundreds of different vendors that are on there, selling thousands of different products, all competing with each other for your custom, and because you have a feedback system a bit like Amazon with a review out of 5 and a bit of written feedback about the quality of the product, these vendors are competing with each other on price, they're competing on quality, they're competing on customer service. And because of that competition, the product quality gets better and better, the price gets lower and lower, and the market actually operates in the interest of the buyer rather than the vendor.
Drug culture has always been linked to street violence, but moving its trade to a virtual space causes new problems to surface for its users.
There are plenty of people who dabble with lots of bits of drugs and don't have a problem with it. I'm not here to be a killjoy, I'm not here to tell people how to live their lives, but it's when it starts to become out of control or they're using them inappropriately for different reasons, such as stopping them feeling or stopping them having to look at their life. That's when it becomes a problem. There are many people who dabble and use a bit of cannabis when they're younger, teenagers, and then stop using and get on with their lives.
The problem with an anonymous marketplace is that you don't get to decide what's being bought and sold on there. So vendors will turn up and sell all sorts of stuff. And so a lot of heroin there and opiate-based drugs, crack cocaine, much more dangerous stuff, much more readily available to people.
I can see the possibility that someone would go onto the Silk Road and perhaps they already smoke cannabis. They'll maybe order some of that, and then when they say, well, I could get some cocaine or some LSD or DMT or whatever it may be, they might be tempted.
Let's say you're at university and you discover this amazing marketplace and you realise you can get incredibly high quality cocaine sent to you. And some of your mates start saying, oh, that's really good, can you get me a little bit, please? And so then your next order, you place a bit for them, and then their mates want some. And before you know it, you're pretty much dealing. And you've suddenly become a drug dealer kingpin in your university halls of residence without leaving your bedroom, probably not realising just how serious a crime that is.
On the one hand, these marketplaces are contributing to the UK's drug problem. But, surprisingly, benefits also arise.
What we can learn from Silk Road is that drug users, they really want to take care of themselves. I mean, when you're on the street and you have to buy a gram of cocaine or whatever it may be, you don't know what you're getting. It's a white powder, it's a red pill, it could be anything. And eventually some people do get hurt. But on the Silk Road and other sites with the review system, the forums and other people giving advice, users can make a really informed decision about what they want to buy and what they want to do with it.
People, if they want to use drugs, will find a way of getting drugs. Buying them on the street creates a whole range of problems of their own. One is you don't know what you're buying, the quality of it, and what it might be mixed with. You have no idea about the quantities, the true quantities that you're buying, and therefore the purity can be an issue.
Because of the competitive nature of the Silk Road, that doesn't really happen. The quality, the purity of the drug is not only generally higher, it's also more predictable. It stays about the same. You always know you're going to get a high sort of percentage purity, and you know from the forums what sort of percentage purity that is because the vendors are often very open about that.
Quality difference crazy. Like online on Silk Road, you click on, you can get a full 100% pure. And like, it's pure. There's no joke, it's pure. There's not no cut up shit.
But there's also societal benefits because so much of the crime that's associated with drugs use is actually turf wars between drug dealers over corners. So who controls the trade on the street? Now this, on the Silk Road, removes all of that street dealing because it allows the buyer to go straight, directly further up the supply chain without having to have all that dealing on the street corner.
With Nick Clegg saying it shows the war on drugs isn't working.
What I'm saying is making them illegal isn't working. It doesn't work. It doesn't prevent people from using drugs.
We need a thorough analysis and assessment of the current legislation including comparing it with alternative models.
The Misuse of Drug Act was set up in 1971 and has been questioned by several high-profile figures about its current usefulness.
The world's been attempting to deal with drugs for decades now, and the consequence is we've got people making lots of money across the world, and whenever you have a prohibited product, that's what happens. Sometimes with prohibited products, you need to keep them that way, for example guns, and try and clamp down on that. There is an issue as to whether or not it's a sensible strategy for drugs.
I think we need to accept that people are going to take drugs. I mean, every year that the United Nations World Drug Report comes out, more people are taking drugs, the drugs are purer, they're cheaper, and they're more widely available. So if we act on that premise, instead of criminalising people for taking their own decision, we should help them and make sure that they don't get hurt in the process by taking these drugs.
If the drugs laws were rational in any way, then we wouldn't be having this conversation anyway, right? You know, you only have to look into the history of the drug laws in the UK and the history of the scientific evidence that's been given to Parliament over the past few years about various forms of currently illegal drugs.
So I think what we should do in this country is have an open mind. We should be set on one objective, which is to seek to minimise the harm from drugs. That should be our objective. And we shouldn't be afraid to adopt policies which are perhaps in some senses controversial if they achieve that objective.
In spite of whether the drug laws change or not, these deep web marketplaces seem to thrive irrespective. So what can one expect from the likes of darknet marketplaces in the future?
There is probably about 25 darknet marketplaces now in operation. And what it shows, I think, is the technology and the encryption and the demand and the possibility of making money is so great that every time they get shut down, new ones reappear, new ones re-emerge. And they'll often learn something about the reason the last time they failed, and so try to introduce better mechanisms, better security. And so to me, this is something close to a losing battle for the law. They won't be able to stop the spread of these marketplaces.
I think they're going to get more popular as more people hear about them and understand how they work, and that you can buy drugs relatively safely from them and the quality is better. I also think there's going to be a trend towards decentralization. So that's when you have different technologies away from Tor, which when used correctly means that there's no central server to seize. So when they shut down Silk Road, they eventually found the server, they shut it down, that took the website down. With a decentralized network, there is no server to seize.
I think the next place they're going to try to go to is apps. So it's going to be even easier for you to do this stuff. More of it's automated, more of it's simple. I think if they really want to crack the drugs market overall, though, they're going to have to work out how you order and deliver on the same day, as in the next hour. Because what a lot of the drugs market is people buying at night, at the end of the night, and they want the night to carry on, and it's the late night session. And that's what the Silk Road can't give you, because you've got to wait 3 days for your parcel to arrive. Now, if they can work out a way of safely doing that, of delivery as you order, real-time delivery, maybe with a drone, I don't know, then we're talking about a complete transformation of the drugs market, because suddenly everything can be done online, quicker, easier and cheaper.
Dark web-based drug markets are remarkable platforms that facilitate anyone in purchasing drugs from the comfort of their own bedroom. This can prove very dangerous given its easy access, although one could also argue that this resolves some of the ongoing problems illicit drugs cause in the country. So what does the future hold for the online drug marketplaces? I suppose we will have to wait and see.